I've seen so many people stare at glossy product photos, convince themselves a sleek pair of bookshelf speakers will turn their living room into a concert hall, only to end up with a set that sounds thin, rattles when the bass hits, or just sits there looking good and doing nothing. That hesitation right before you click add to cart is real, and it's why I wanted to take a step back and walk through what actually happens when you put the Acoustics Concept 300 on the floor, on a desk, or on a stand. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Concept 300 isn't just another box with a driver inside. Acoustics has put a lot of engineering into how the cabinet behaves once you start playing music. The dual core layering, for instance, isn't a marketing buzzword, it's a dense, rubber-like material sandwiched between the inner panels that absorbs vibrations that would otherwise turn the cabinet into a rattling drum. In a real-world setup, that means you can place the speakers on a standard wooden shelf without hearing that annoying buzzing you get with cheaper models when the bassline drops. What really sets this model apart is the Tensegrity stand. It's a minimalist, almost sculptural base that uses tension cables combined with a slim wooden column. The design keeps the speakers stable, but more importantly, it isolates the drivers from floorborne vibrations. I tried them on a concrete floor in a home office, and even when a neighbor was moving a couch down the hall, there was no perceptible wobble or distortion. The isolation base does the same thing on its own, so whether you're on a carpet, a tile floor, or a desktop, the speakers maintain a clean soundstage. Now, let's talk about how they actually perform in everyday listening. The drivers are decoupled and arranged point-to-point, which translates into a more precise imaging. When I played a jazz record with a piano, a double bass, and a muted trumpet, the piano felt anchored to the left, the bass to the right, and the trumpet floated right in the middle, exactly the kind of three-dimensional feel you want in a small room. The wide dispersion means you don't have to sit dead center to enjoy the sweet spot. Even if you're lounging on a couch a couple of meters away, the sound remains balanced. That said, there are a few practical trade-offs. The Concept 300 is a 6.5-inch cabinet, which makes it a perfect fit for most bookshelf spaces, but the driver size also caps the low-frequency extension. If you're looking for deep, room-shaking bass without adding a subwoofer, you'll notice a slight roll-off around 45 Hz. In a compact apartment, that may actually be a benefit. You get clean mids and highs without the boomy bass that can disturb downstairs neighbors. If you're a home theater enthusiast who expects your speakers to double as a true 5.1 front left and right, you'll probably want a dedicated sub to fill that gap. Who should consider the Concept 300? If you're an audiophile who enjoys vinyl or high-resolution streaming in a modestly sized room, and you value a refined soundstage over sheer low-end power, these speakers hit the sweet spot. They're also a solid choice for podcasters or remote workers who need a clear, articulate voice reproduction for video call. Speech comes through crisp, with enough detail to make your words feel present without sounding harsh. On the flip side, if you have a massive open-plan living area and you plan to crank up the volume for movie nights, you'll likely need larger floor-standing speakers or a supplemental sub to get the impact you're after. Another hidden advantage is the aesthetic flexibility. The black cabinet with the rosewood veneer can blend into a modern minimalist setup or act as a subtle accent in a more traditional room. The stand's sleek profile means you don't have to sacrifice floor space, which is a common pain point when you're trying to fit quality audio into a small studio or bedroom. A practical weakness that popped up during my testing was the lack of a built-in volume control or passive crossover adjustment. The speakers are designed to work best with a dedicated amplifier or a high-quality receiver. Plugging them into a cheap TV sound bar or a low-power Bluetooth receiver will leave you with underwhelming dynamics. So, budgeting for a decent amp, something in the 50100W per channel range, becomes part of the total cost. That's not a deal breaker, but it's something you need to factor into your purchase plan. Cable management also deserves a brief mention. The speakers have standard binding post inputs, which are reliable, but the terminals are recessed a bit, making it slightly trickier to snap in thick banana plugs. I ended up using the supplied spring clamp connectors, and they held up fine, but anyone with a habit of swapping cables frequently might find the process a tad fiddly. Overall, the value proposition of the Concept 300 lies in its blend of engineering and aesthetics. You're paying for the vibration-controlling gel core, the Tensegrity stand that keeps the cabinet from acting like a resonator, and a driver layout that,